I turned 49 on a Tuesday. Brian took me to Marcello's, the Italian place where he'd proposed 26 years ago. Same corner table. Same waiter who remembered us. Same red wine he'd ordered that night when everything felt possible. I thought it was romantic. I thought he was remembering. I thought wrong. He waited until after the appetizer. Calculated, precise, like closing a business deal. Bella, we need to talk about our future. My heart lifted for half a second. Maybe he was planning something special. Maybe after all these quiet years, he'd finally noticed me again. I don't think this is working anymore, he said. His voice was calm, steady, like he was discussing quarterly earnings. We've grown in different directions. You want one thing, I want another. The restaurant noise faded. I heard my own breathing. Felt the weight of my fork in my hand. What are you saying? I'm saying I need someone who inspires me, Bella. Someone who's starting their journey, not finishing it. The words landed like a punch. Starting their journey, finishing it. I was 49, not dying. But in Brian's world, apparently, I was already dead. Is there someone else? He had the decency to look away for exactly 2 seconds. That's not what this is about. Which meant yes. I stood up. My legs shook but held. I grabbed my purse. Left him with the bill and the carefully rehearsed speech he'd probably practiced in the mirror, and walked out into the cool Los Angeles night. Behind me, I felt the eyes of other diners. Pity, curiosity, relief that it wasn't happening to them. 25 years, gone between the appetizer and dessert. The photos appeared 3 days later. My phone buzzed at 7 in the morning. My sister Monica. Her voice was tight. Bella, don't go online. Don't look at anything. I was already looking. Instagram, Facebook, every social media platform. I'd avoided for years because Brian said they were beneath us. There he was. Brian Croft, venture capitalist, philanthropist, pillar of Los Angeles society. His arm around a woman who looked like she'd walked off a runway. Blonde, tall, wearing a dress that cost more than my car payment. The caption from LA Society magazine made my stomach turn. Venture capitalist Brian Croft debuts new relationship with model Amber Hartley, 34 15 years younger than me. Young enough to be starting her journey. Young enough that people would look at them and think exactly what Brian wanted them to think. That he was still vital, still powerful, still winning. I stared at the photo until my eyes burned. She was beautiful, of course. That wasn't what killed me. It was Brian's face. He looked alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. Maybe ever. Like he'd just won something valuable. And I was what he'd traded in to get it. My phone rang. Monica again. I let it go to voicemail. Couldn't talk. Couldn't explain. Couldn't put into words the specific humiliation of being replaced so publicly, so completely, so fast. I walked to the bedroom, our bedroom. His bedroom now, and stood in front of the full-length mirror. The same mirror where I'd checked my appearance before every dinner party, every charity gala, every performance as Mrs. Brian Croft. I saw a woman with good bones. Elegant, my mother used to say. I'd kept my figure. My skin was good. Some lines around my eyes, sure, but I wasn't falling apart. I wasn't obsolete. But Brian saw expiration dates, diminishing returns. A model that needed upgrading. The divorce papers arrived the next morning. Richard Morrison, our attorney, Brian's attorney, delivered them personally. He couldn't meet my eyes as he explained the terms. The house would be sold. Assets divided. I'd receive a settlement. Generous, he called it, like generosity could be measured in the ruins of a marriage. Brian wanted me to tell you he hopes you'll be reasonable about this. Reasonable. I looked at the papers, at the dollar amount that was supposed to compensate me for 25 years, for the career I'd given up, for the woman I'd stopped being. $800,000. It would have seemed like a fortune to the girl I'd been at 23, fresh out of USC, with an architecture degree and dreams that felt infinite. Now it felt like a tip. A consolation prize for being a good sport about my own erasure. I met Brian Croft in 1999 at a gallery opening in Santa Monica. I was 24, 3 months out of graduate school. Job offer from Morrison & Klein, one of the most prestigious architectural firms in California. I wore a black dress I couldn't afford and shoes that pinched. I was there to network, to be seen, to start building the career I'd worked 6 years to earn. Brian was 43, divorced, successful. He talked about the future like he owned it. Tech startups, real estate, the digital revolution that was reshaping everything. "You're an architect," he said, looking at my portfolio. "That's impressive." Nobody had ever called my work impressive before. They'd called it competent, promising, adequate, but impressive. That word belonged to men. We dated for 6 months. He took me to restaurants where people recognized him, introduced me to investors and entrepreneurs, made me feel like I was part of something bigger than myself. When he proposed, I said yes without hesitation. The wedding was small. His idea. "Let's not waste money on one day when we could invest in our future," he'd said. Smart, practical, I agreed. I started at Morrison & Klein 2 weeks after the honeymoon. I lasted 9 months. "The problem," Brian said over dinner one night, "is that we're never together. You're working 80-hour weeks. I'm working 80-hour weeks. What's the point of being married?" He had a point. I barely saw him. The firm was consuming me. Pitches, presentations, endless revisions. I loved it, but it was eating me alive. "What if you took some time off?" he suggested. "Just until my company stabilizes. I need a partner, Bella, someone who understands business. Someone who can help me build something real. Together." That word did it. Together sounded like love, like partnership, like mattering. I gave Morrison & Klein my notice the next week. 25 years disappeared in the space of a breath. I became Brian's infrastructure. I organized dinners where deals happened over wine and carefully plated food. I researched investments. I drafted pitch decks at 3 in the morning when he had meetings at 8. I smiled at investors' wives and made them feel seen while their husbands wrote checks. When Marcus was born 3 years into our marriage, I added mother to my list of unpaid positions. Brian's firm grew, Croft Capital, then Croft Ventures, then just Croft, a name that meant something in Los Angeles. People called him a visionary. Nobody asked who did the research, who made the introductions, who built the image that made investors want in. I was the architect of his empire. I just didn't get to sign the blueprints. And now he was taking it all, the life, the credit, the future, and giving me $800,000 and a pat on the head for my domestic contributions. The meeting with Richard was brutal. He sat across from me in a conference room that cost more per hour than most people made in a week. 2 associates flanked him. Brian sat at the head of the table like he was chairing a board meeting. My attorney, Patricia Chuna, referral from Monica, sat beside me with a legal pad and a poker face. "Let's keep this simple," Richard said, sliding a folder across the polished oak. "Mr. Croft is prepared to be generous." I opened the folder. Numbers swam. The settlement. The terms. The careful legal language that reduced 25 years to line items and percentages. "This is insulting," Patricia said before I could speak. Richard smiled, patient, patronizing. "Mrs. Croft hasn't worked in 25 years. Her contributions to the marriage were primarily domestic and non-financial." Domestic, the word came out sharp. Richard blinked. "Well, yes. Homemaking, child-rearing, social management. I built his company." My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat on the table. "I built everything." Brian finally spoke. "Bella, let's not be dramatic." Dramatic. 25 years of research, strategy, networking, problem solving, managing his image, making him look good, making him possible, and he called it dramatic. "My client," Patricia said, her voice steel, "was a brilliant architect who sacrificed her career to support Mr. Croft's ventures. She managed his household, raised their son, and served as his unpaid consultant and advisor. Her contributions were essential and strategic." "That's a generous interpretation," Richard said. Brian checked his watch. I stared at him. This man I'd loved. This man I'd built. He couldn't even pretend to care enough to look at me. When did you meet her? I asked. The room went silent. Bella, Brian started. When did you meet Amber? Richard tried to object. Patricia stopped him with a look. Brian sighed. Like I was being difficult. Like I was the problem. 18 months ago. At a charity event. You were there. Actually. You met her. 18 months. A year and a half. While I was planning our 25th anniversary. While I was researching trips to Italy, we'd never take why I was being the perfect wife. Did you love her? I don't think that's relevant, Richard began. Yes. Brian's voice was flat. I do. Something inside me broke clean. Not shattered, that implies pieces. This was surgical. Final. The last thread connecting me to the woman who'd walked into this room. I stood up. I'm not signing this. Mrs. Croft, I'd advise you to be reasonable. Reasonable. I grabbed the folder with their insulting offer. You want reasonable? I gave up everything for him. My career, my dreams, my identity. I made him who he is. And you're offering me pocket change and calling it generous? Bella. Brian stood, his voice carrying a warning. No, you don't get to Bella me anymore. You don't get to tell me I'm being dramatic or unreasonable. I built you, Brian. Every success, every connection, every image. And you threw me away like I was obsolete. I walked to the door, turned back. I'll see you in court. Patricia gathered her things and followed. Behind us, I heard Richard's voice, low and annoyed. You said she'd be easy. The elevator doors closed on that conference room, on Brian, on 25 years of being reasonable. That was brave, Patricia said. That was stupid. My hands were shaking. I just turned down $800,000. You turned down an insult. She pressed the button for the ground floor. Now we fight for what you're actually worth. That night, I sat alone in the house we'd bought 15 years ago. The house I'd decorated. The kitchen where I'd hosted 40 dinner parties. The living room where I'd entertained his colleagues and charmed his investors and made him look good. Every corner held a piece of me. And soon none of it would be mine. I thought about Brian scrolling through his phone during our divorce negotiation. About Amber, young and beautiful and starting her journey. About my son Marcus, who'd stopped returning my calls months ago because he didn't want to be in the middle. About the architecture degree gathering dust in my mind. I walked to my old study, the room Brian had converted into a gym 2 years ago, and opened the closet. Boxers. Old memories. Things I'd kept because throwing them away felt like giving up on something I couldn't name. At the bottom, wrapped in plastic, I found it. My portfolio from USC. I pulled it out. Dust covered the edges. I sat on the cold floor and opened it, and 25 years fell away. There I was in every sketch, every blueprint, every wild idea. A community center shaped like open hands. Sustainable housing that worked with the landscape instead of dominating it. A park that transformed industrial waste into public beauty. My professor had written in the margins, visionary work. This is the future of architecture. I'd believed him once. Believed I could change skylines. Change lives matter. When had I stopped believing? When had I decided that being Brian Croft's wife was enough? I looked at the designs, 25 years old but still bold, still innovative, still mine. These weren't just projects, they were proof. Proof that I'd once been someone who created things. Someone who mattered on her own terms. The handwriting in the margins was younger, bolder. The handwriting of a woman who believed she could change the world. I stood up, walked to my laptop. The screen glowed in the gathering darkness. I typed, "How to start an architecture firm." 3 million results. I started reading. Outside Los Angeles settled into evening. Somewhere in this city, Brian was with Amber in a life I'd built for him. My son was avoiding my calls. My future looked like a studio apartment and a settlement that said 25 years of my life was worth less than a nice car. But sitting on that floor, surrounded by forgotten dreams, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not hope, not yet, possibility. Dangerous, fragile, terrifying possibility. I pulled the portfolio closer. Studied each design like meeting an old friend. These projects weren't just ideas. They were evidence. Evidence that I'd once been someone who built things. Someone who mattered. Someone who could matter again. My phone buzzed. Patricia, get some rest. Long fight ahead. I wasn't going to rest. I was going to build. Not for Brian. Not to prove him wrong. Not even for revenge. For me. For the woman in these blueprints who'd been buried alive for 25 years. She was clawing her way out. And God help anyone who tried to stop her. I incorporated Phoenix Designs on a Wednesday morning in March. The name came to me at 3 a.m., lying awake in Brian's bed. Technically, until the house sold. Phoenix, rising from ashes. Obvious, maybe, but I needed obvious. I needed something I could hold on to when everything else felt like quicksand. The paperwork cost $895. Filing fees, business license LLC registration. I paid with a credit card that was already dangerously close to maxed out. Monica drove me to the county clerk's office in downtown LA. We waited 90 minutes in plastic chairs under fluorescent lights that made everyone look half dead. A clerk with dead eyes stamped my forms without looking up. Congratulations, you're official. I walked out holding a folder that proved I existed as something other than Brian Croft's ex-wife. It felt like winning and drowning at the same time. Now what? Monica asked in the parking lot. Good question. I needed clients, a portfolio, money, an office, experience I could prove, a website, business cards, software I hadn't touched in 25 years that had probably been reinvented 3 times since. I needed everything and had nothing. Now I figure it out, I said. First stop, Pacific First Bank, on Wilshire Boulevard. I'd done my research, small business loans, startup capital, SBA programs. The internet made it sound possible. Fill out applications, present your business plan, walk out with funding to chase your dreams. The loan officer's name was Derek Chen, maybe 30. He wore a tie that didn't match his shirt and had a smile that told me the answer before I sat down. So, he flipped through my application. Architecture firm, that's ambitious. I have a master's degree from USC. I worked at Morrison & Klein in 1999. He looked up. That's 26 years ago, Ms. Rossi. The way he said it, like I was claiming credentials from the Civil War. I've stayed current. I've been researching sustainable design, urban planning innovations. Research is different from practice. He set down the application, folded his hands. Look, I'll be honest. You're asking for $150,000 based on college work and no recent clients. You haven't practiced architecture in over 2 decades. Banks need more than passion. We need proof. My face burned. I can provide references, character witnesses. Do you own property? Have collateral, a cosigner with established credit? I sat there, every question mark on my application screaming the same thing. You're nobody. You're nothing. You're 50 years old and irrelevant. I'll keep your application on file, Derek said, already standing. If your circumstances change, feel free to reapply. I walked out of Pacific First Bank and sat in my car for 15 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying not to scream. I applied to 4 more banks over the next 3 weeks. Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, a small credit union in Pasadena that somebody's neighbor recommended. Same questions, same smile, same gentle rejection wrapped in corporate language about risk assessment and market viability and current economic climate. The woman at the credit union, Sandra, mid-50s, kind eyes at least, told me the truth. You're 50, she said. You haven't worked in decades. Architecture is a young person's game now. Everything's digital. Everything's fast. Banks want safe bets. She paused. You're not a safe bet. I thanked her for her honesty. Walked to my car. Cried in a Starbucks parking lot until my mascara ran and a concerned barista knocked on my window to make sure I was okay. That night, my mother called. Monica had told her about Phoenix Designs. Of course she had. Bella, honey, I'm worried. I'm fine, Mom. You're throwing away money on a business that's never going to work. Her voice was gentle, loving, which made it worse. Why don't you just rest? Take the settlement when it comes. You could travel. Join a book club. Maybe meet someone new. I don't want to meet someone new. I want to work. But at your age I hung up, sat on my couch, stared at the wall. At your age, like 50 was death. Like I should just accept that my productive life was over. Take my settlement, fade quietly into whatever comes after mattering. My phone buzzed, unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Then I did. Isabella. It's Brian. My stomach dropped. We hadn't spoken since the conference room. Since I'd walked out? Since I'd refused his money and his lawyer, and his attempt to make my erasure sound reasonable. What do you want? I heard you're starting a company. His voice was casual, amused. Phoenix Designs, cute name. I said nothing. Look, I'm calling as a friend, we're not friends. To give you some advice, this is a mistake, Bella. You're going to burn through what little money you have and end up with nothing. Take the settlement. Move on. Don't embarrass yourself. The words landed like slaps. Embarrass yourself. Like wanting to work was shameful. Like trying was pathetic. Are you done? My voice was cold. Calm. I'm trying to help you. No, you're trying to make sure I stay small, stay quiet, stay in the box you put me in 25 years ago. I stood up, paced. But here's the thing, Brian, I don't need your advice. I don't need your money. And I sure as hell don't need your permission to build something. I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. But something else was there too. Something harder, sharper, rage, pure, clean, focused rage. I opened my laptop, started writing. Not a business plan, not a pitch deck, a list. Every person Brian and I knew who might need an architect. Every developer, every investor, every person who'd eaten at our table and drunk our wine and benefited from my invisible labor. Time to collect. The call came 3 weeks later. I was updating my website, trying to make it look professional with a free template and stock photos when my phone rang. Unknown number again. I'd stopped answering those too many debt collectors. Too many people who wanted money I didn't have. But something made me pick up. Isabella Rossi, speaking. This is Kevin Martinez. We were at USC together. You probably don't remember Kevin. The name pulled up memories. Business school. A joint project sophomore year. He'd used my designs in his financial model. We'd gotten an A, of course, I remember. I saw your LinkedIn. Phoenix Designs. I liked the name. I waited for the other shoe, the concern, the gentle suggestion that this was a bad idea. I'm in real estate development now, he continued. Commercial mostly. I've got a project I can't figure out. I sat up straighter. What kind of project? Old furniture warehouse in Culver City. Been abandoned about 10 years. Owner wants to convert it to mixed-use apartments, maybe some retail. But every architect I've hired gives me the same boring plan. Gut it, rebuild it. Make it look like every other gentrified box in LA. And you want something different. I want something that respects what it was while making it work for what it needs to be. Sustainable, community-focused, actually beautiful. He paused. I remember your thesis project. The industrial park conversion. It was brilliant. My throat tightened. He remembered. Someone remembered. Kevin, I haven't practiced in 25 years. I know. Monica told me about the divorce. His voice softened. Look, this isn't charity. I need this building to work. The budget's tight. He can pay you, but it's not Morrison and Klein money. And if you can't deliver, I'll find someone else. But I remember your work, and I believe in second chances. I couldn't speak. The building's a disaster, he said. Probably asbestos. Definitely structural issues. The neighborhood's skeptical about gentrification. But if anyone can make it work, it's you. You interested? I looked at my laptop, at my half-finished website, at the rejection letters I'd stacked on my desk like trophies of failure, at the text I'd gotten from Brian yesterday. Heard you're still playing architect. Good luck with your hobby. Good luck with your hobby. Yes, I said, I'm interested. Good, can you meet me Monday? 10 a.m. I'll be there. One more thing. His voice got serious. This is a real job. Real expectations. I'm giving you a shot, not a guarantee. Clear crystal. He gave me the address, hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, heart racing. Someone believed in me, not because I was someone's wife. Not out of pity, because I had talent. Because I could do the work. I pulled up the address on Google Maps. Street view showed a wreck of a building. Boarded windows, graffiti, broken fence, the kind of place people drive past without seeing. I smiled. I spent the weekend preparing like my life depended on it, because it did. I drove to Culver City Saturday morning, walked around the building, took photos, measured, made notes. The structure was solid good bones under all the decay. Those industrial windows, if restored, would flood the space with light. The brick walls had character. History. I went to the library. Read everything I could find about adaptive reuse, sustainable materials, community-driven design. I stayed until closing, surrounded by books, remembering what it felt like to learn, to grow, to build something from nothing but ideas and effort. Sunday, I sketched. Dozens of variations, different layouts, different approaches. I thought about what Kevin said, respecting what it was, while making it work for what it needs to be. The building had been a furniture warehouse, a place where things were made, created, built. I could honor that. By midnight Sunday, I had it. Not just a design. A vision, mixed income, housing market rate, and affordable units side by side. Ground floor commercial for local businesses, not chains. A central courtyard where the loading dock used to be. Green roof. Solar panels that looked integrated, not slapped on. Materials that complemented the original brick instead of hiding it. Modern and historic in conversation, not conflict. I printed everything. Put it in a portfolio, not my old USC one, a new one I'd bought at Staples. Professional, clean, ready. Monday morning, I arrived 30 minutes early. Kevin was already there, leaning against a black truck, holding 2 coffees. Brought you one, he said, handing it over. Figured you'd need it. Thanks. He unlocked the chain link fence. We walked into the building together. It looked worse inside. Water damage. Pigeon nests. Concrete floors cracked and stained. But the light coming through those massive windows was perfect. So? Kevin asked. What do you see? I walked to the center of the space. Turned slowly. Felt the building breathe. I see 20 units, I said. Mixed income. Some market rate, some affordable. Ground floor stays commercial coffee shop, bookstore, makerspace maybe. But we keep the character. Exposed brick, visible beams. We add mezzanine levels, using steel and glass. Modern materials that respect the original instead of erasing it. Keep going. Green roof for insulation and rainwater collection. Solar panels integrated into the design. We make it sustainable without making it look like we're trying too hard. I turned to face him. And we involve the community. The people who live here get input. This becomes theirs, not ours. Kevin was quiet. Then, when can you start? I worked like a woman possessed. 80-hour weeks. My bedroom became my office. Sketches covered every surface. I learned new software through YouTube videos at 2 in the morning. AutoCAD, SketchUp, Revit. My eyes burned. My back ached. I lived on coffee and determination. And I'd never felt more alive. This was what I'd forgotten. The flow of creation, the problem solving. The way a building could be more than shelter, it could be a statement. A community anchor. A bridge between past and future. I met with the neighborhood council 6 weeks in. Presented my concepts. Expected resistance. An older woman in the front row spoke first. Who are you? I'm the architect, I know that. I mean, who are you? Another developer coming to price us out. Fair question. I'm someone who just got divorced at 49, after giving up everything to build someone else's career, I said. The room went silent. I'm starting over with nothing. So no, I'm not here to make this neighborhood expensive. I'm here to make it better. For you. For the people who already live here. The woman Mrs. Chen, I learned later, studied me. What makes this different? Because you get a say. Tell me what you need. What this neighborhood needs. I'll design it. We talked for 3 hours. They wanted green space. Affordable units with real protections. Ground floor commercial for local business owners. I took notes, adjusted plans. Came back 2 weeks later with revised designs that incorporated everything. Mrs. Chen looked at the renderings, looked at me. Okay, we trust you. Don't make us regret it. I wouldn't. Construction took 14 months. I was on site every day. Hard hat, work boots, dust in my hair. The contractors thought I was crazy at first. A 50-year-old woman climbing scaffolding, checking welds, arguing about window placement. You don't need to be here this much, the foreman said. We know what we're doing. So do I. Problems came constantly. Asbestos in the walls, 6 weeks and $40,000 for abatement. Structural issues requiring steel reinforcement. Supply delays. Permit complications. Budget overruns. I solved them. One by one. I negotiated with suppliers. Found alternative materials. Redesigned elements to stay within budget. I did what I'd done for 25 years managing Brian's life. I made impossible things work. Except this time, my name was on it. The day we finished, Kevin and I stood in the central courtyard. We'd turned the old loading area into a garden. Raised beds, native plants, a fountain made from reclaimed industrial equipment. Benches built from the warehouse's original timber beams. It's beautiful, Kevin said. It was. But more than beautiful, it was alive, real, human. Thank you, I said, for believing in me. Thank you for making me look smart. He pulled out his phone. I'm sending you 6 more addresses. If you're interested. I was interested. The Los Angeles Times ran the story 4 weeks later. Phoenix Rising, architect transforms abandoned warehouse into model for sustainable urban living. They featured photos, interviews with Mrs. Chen, quotes from Kevin. And me, Isabella Rossi, founder of Phoenix Designs. Not someone's wife, not someone's assistant. Me. The reporter asked about my background. I told her the truth. The 25-year gap. The divorce. Starting over at 50. Was it hard? She asked. It was necessary. The article went viral. Architecture blogs picked it up. My website crashed from traffic. My inbox filled with interview requests and potential clients. 2 weeks later, I won the IA Los Angeles Award for Small Projects. I accepted it wearing a dress I'd bought for myself. Black, elegant. Mine. Monica cried in the audience. Mrs. Chen gave me a standing ovation. Brian wasn't there, but I didn't need him to be. That night, alone in my apartments, still small, still temporary, but I looked at the award on my counter and cried. Not from sadness, from relief, from vindication, from the bone-deep satisfaction of proving that I wasn't finished. I was just starting. My phone buzzed. Email from Brian. Bella, saw the article. The building looks good. Always knew you had talent. I stared at it for a long moment. Always knew, like he'd been cheering me on. Like he hadn't spent 25 years burying that talent under his needs. I typed a response. The name is Isabella. Sent it. Blocked his email. I pulled up the addresses Kevin had sent. 6 properties. All challenging. All possible. Phoenix Designs had arrived. And I was just getting started. 10 years passed like pages turning. Not easily, not smoothly, but they passed, and with each one, Phoenix Designs grew. Year 1, 3 projects. The Culver City Warehouse, a community garden in Echo Park, a house renovation in Silver Lake. I worked alone. Laptop, coffee, endless nights. Revenue, $180,000. After expenses, $22,000. I ate ramen and called it success. Year 2, I hired Sarah Chun, Mrs. Chen's granddaughter, fresh out of UCLA, with fire in her eyes. We moved into a real office. 1,200 square feet in Korea. 2 desks. One printer. A sign on the door that made it real. Year 3. Kevin's 6 properties turned into 12. We specialized in what others avoided: historic buildings, complicated sites, projects requiring vision instead of formulas. While other firms chased luxury condos, we built affordable housing that didn't look cheap. People started noticing. Year 5. 15 employees. Office in Silver Lake, with views and light. Revenue crossed 2 million. I bought a house small, mine, with a yard where I could sit mornings and remember what rock bottom felt like. Year 7. We won the Boyle Heights Cultural Center. 30,000 square feet. $8 million budget. The kind of project established firms fought over. We competed against companies with 50-year histories. We won because our design wasn't about ego. It was about community. The LA Times called me the people's architect. I framed it. Year 10. Phoenix Designs employed 32 people. We'd completed 92 projects, 14 awards. Architecture students studied our buildings. I gave lectures at USC, standing in classrooms where I'd learned to dream. At 60 years old, I'd built something that mattered. Then the Downtown Arts District project was announced. The RFP hit my desk on a Tuesday morning. Downtown LA, 12 acres, mixed use, residential, commercial, public space. Budget, $200 million. The kind of project that defined careers. Sarah dropped the paperwork on my desk. We're going for this, right? I read through it. Old industrial zone warehouses, rail yards, buildings abandoned for 30 years. They wanted transformation. Something that would model urban renewal nationwide. Perfect for us. Yeah, I said. We're going for it. Good. Sarah grinned. Because I already started research. That's why I'd hired her. We spent 6 weeks on the proposal. The whole office involved. Sarah led design. Mark, a sour structural engineer. Not my son, handled technical specs. I focused on vision, the narrative that would make the selection committee see what we saw. We designed a neighborhood, not just buildings. Affordable housing integrated with multi-trade. Ground floor retail for local businesses. 4-acre park connecting to the LA River. Solar panels, green roofs, rainwater harvesting. Beauty and sustainability and community woven together. The presentation boards covered an entire wall, renderings that looked like dreams made concrete. It's good, Sarah said the night before submission. It's us, I said. We submitted at 4:47 p.m., 13 minutes before deadline. Then we waited. Kevin called the next morning. You submit for Downtown Arts. Just did good. So did Croft Development. I set down my coffee. What? Brian's firm. They're one of the finalists. Didn't you see the list? I hadn't. Too nervous to look. I pulled up the website. Scrolled to finalists. 15 firms. Alphabetically arranged. Croft Development Group. Phoenix Designs. My heart hammered. Isabella, Kevin's voice. You there? I'm here. You okay? Was I? 10 years. 10 years since Brian had called Phoenix my hobby. Since he'd thrown me away for a younger woman and a life that didn't include me. And now we were competing, head to head. I'm perfect, I said. Thanks for the heads up. The selection committee announced the short list 3 weeks later. 5 firms from 15. Phoenix made it, so did Croft Development. We had to present in person. 30 minutes, everything riding on half an hour. Presentations were scheduled over 2 days, alphabetical order. Croft would go first day, morning. Phoenix second day, afternoon. I'd have to wait 24 hours after watching Brian present. The universe had a sense of humor. I sat in the back of the auditorium for Brian's presentation. Reconnaissance, I told myself. Understanding the competition. Strategic. I was lying to myself. Brian walked in at 9:42 a.m. He looked older, 78 now. Still fit, still expensive suits, but something had faded. The edges were softer. The confidence less certain. Amber wasn't with him. I'd heard they'd divorced 3 years ago. She'd left him for a younger man, a tech investor, 35, with the energy Brian had lost. Karma was real. Brian's team presented. Slick, professional. Glass and steel. Modern, expensive looking, but cold, formulaic. The residential units all looked the same. The public spaces felt like afterthoughts. The design prioritized profit over people. You could see it in every choice. The committee asked questions. Brian answered smoothly. He'd done this 1,000 times. When it ended, he left through the side exit. Didn't see me. I sat there after everyone left, looking at his boards still on display. 10 years ago, this would have intimidated me. The polish, the prestige, the Croft name. Now I just saw the cracks. The lack of vision. The way his firm repeated formulas that had worked 20 years ago but felt dated now. He'd stopped growing, stopped taking risks. I texted Sarah, saw the competition. We're going to win. The next day, we presented at 2 p.m. My team was nervous. Sarah kept adjusting her jacket. Marcus checked his notes for the 5th time. Hey, I said before we walked in. We've already won. We won when we decided to do this work our way. Today we're just showing them what we already know. Clear? They straightened, nodded. We walked in. I took the podium, looked at the 20 faces staring back. 10 years ago, I said, I was 50 years old with no clients, no money, and no reason to believe I could do this. Today, Phoenix Designs has transformed 92 properties across Los Angeles. We've won 14 awards. We've created homes for 1,200 families. I clicked to the first slide. Our vision. We're not here to build monuments. We're here to build neighborhoods, places where people live full lives. I walked them through every element. Sarah presented technical specs. Marcus explained structural innovations. 30 minutes flew by. Silence when we finished. Then the mayor's chief of staff leaned forward. Ms. Rossi, how do you respond to concerns that your firm lacks experience with projects at this scale? Fair question. Expected. You're right, I said. We've never built something this big, but 15 years ago, Croft Development had never built anything this big either. They took a risk. They grew. I paused. You can hire them and get exactly what you expect. Or you can hire us and get something no one's seen before. The chief of staff smiled slightly. Wrote something down. We answered 10 more questions. Packed up. Walked out. That was incredible. Sarah said in the hallway. That was honest. The call came 2 weeks later. Unknown number, I answered. Ms. Rossi, Jennifer Watts from the Downtown Arts District Committee. My heart stopped. We've selected Phoenix Designs for the project. The office went silent. Everyone staring. We were impressed by your vision, your commitment to community, your willingness to take risks. Congratulations. I couldn't speak. Ms. Rossi, I'm here. Thank you. We won't let you down. We know. She hung up. I looked at my team. 32 faces waiting. We got it. The office erupted. That night, alone in my Silver Lake house, I thought about empires. Brian had built his on ego, on being the smartest, fastest, most successful, on youth and novelty and perpetual reinvention. I'd built mine on purpose, on listening instead of dictating, on community instead of profit. His empire was built on sand, impressive from a distance, but one tide and it washed away. Mine was built on bedrock. My phone buzzed. Text from Kevin. Heard the news. Proud of you. Another text. Unknown number. Congratulations. You deserved it. I stared at it. Felt nothing. Not triumph. Not satisfaction. Not anger. Just quiet recognition that I'd moved past needing his approval. I deleted the message. Opened my laptop. Got back to work. We had a city to build. But Brian's world was collapsing. I heard it through Kevin first. 3 senior architects just left Croft Development. Guess where they applied? Here. I interviewed them both. Michael Torres and Lisa Kwan, both in their 40s. Both tired of designing soulless towers. Why, Phoenix? I asked Michael. Because you build things that matter. I'm tired of building things that just make money. I hired them. Word spread. More defections. An associate. To junior designers. Brian's best project manager. The LA Business Journal ran a feature 6 months after the downtown win. Two empires. The rise of Phoenix Designs and the plateauing of Croft Development. The article was brutal. It compared our growth trajectories: Phoenix climbing, Croft flatlined. It analyzed our projects side by side. One developer said, "Croft Development feels like architecture from 2010. Phoenix feels like architecture for 2040. Another quote, anonymous. Brian Croft built an empire on being the smartest guy in the room. But the room changed, and he didn't. I read it 3 times, felt nothing like triumph. More like watching a building slowly collapse. Monica called. Have you seen it? Yeah. How do you feel? Like I won by not playing his game. That's the best kind of winning. I saw Brian one last time that year. IA California Convention, Sacramento. 3 days of presentations and networking. We ended up in the same hotel bar. Pure chance. He was alone, scrolling through his phone, whiskey in front of him. He looked tired, old, diminished. I could have walked away, should have, but I approached. Brian, he looked up. Surprise flickered, then something else, shame maybe. Isabella. He stood, awkward. Congratulations on the award. Thanks. Silence stretched between us. Can I buy you a drink? I almost said no, but curiosity won. We sat. He ordered another whiskey. I got wine. Your keynote was good, he said. I watched from the back. You were there. Yeah, he turned his glass. You've built something impressive. Phoenix. The work. It's good work. Thank you. More silence. I made a mistake, he said quietly, letting you go. I didn't see what I was losing. There it was. The apology I'd wanted 10 years ago. It felt empty. You didn't let me go, Brian. You threw me away. There's a difference. He flinched. I know. I was arrogant. I thought I was upgrading. He laughed bitterly. Turns out you can't recapture anything. You just lose what you had. Amber left 3 years ago. For a tech investor 35 years old, she did to me what I did to you. He drank. Karma's real. I should have felt satisfaction. Vindication. I just felt sad. I'm sorry, I said, and meant it. He looked at me, surprised. Why? I destroyed us. You didn't destroy me. You freed me. I set down my wine. If you hadn't left, I'd still be hosting your dinner parties, managing your image, building your empire. You did me a favor. You just didn't mean to. Brian stared at his glass. Your firm is everything mine should have been. People care about your buildings. Mine are just investments. Nobody loves them. You could change that. Could I? I'm 78, Isabella. I'm tired. My team's leaving. My clients are leaving. The industry's moved on. He looked at me. I'm yesterday's news. You're tomorrow's. We sat in silence. I don't expect forgiveness, he said finally. I just wanted you to know. You deserved better. You deserved everything. I know. He smiled slightly. Sad. Of course you do. I stood. Take care of yourself, Brian. You too. He paused. For what it's worth, I'm proud of you. I nodded, walked away, felt nothing but quiet closure. Like finishing a book I'd started decades ago. 3 months later, Croft Development announced restructuring. Downsizing. Refocusing, streamlining, corporate speak for we're in trouble. 40% of his staff let go. Some reached out to Phoenix. I hired the good ones. That night, I sat in my house and thought about winning. Not against Brian. Against the voice that said I was finished. Against the world that said 50 was too late. My phone buzzed. Sarah. Just saw the Croft news. You okay? I smiled. Typed back. I'm perfect. See you tomorrow, and I was. I didn't need Brian to fail for me to succeed. But watching him face consequences while I thrived, that felt like justice. Not angry, vengeful justice, quiet justice. The kind that just is. The offer arrived on a Thursday morning in May. Not by email, not by phone. By courier in a suit who required my signature and left without a word. Sarah watched from my office doorway. What is it? I opened the leather portfolio. Legal documents, thick, official. The letterhead made my stomach drop. Morrison. White & Associates Legal Counsel for Croft Development Group. It's from Brian, I said. The letter was brief, professional, cold. Dear Ms. Rossi, Croft Development Group is prepared to offer $47 million for the full acquisition of Phoenix Designs, including all assets, intellectual property, client contracts, and staff. This represents a significant premium over current market valuation and provides immediate liquidity. We believe this merger would benefit both organizations. You would be retained as consultant for 2 years at $500,000 annually. Please review the attached terms. We require a response within 14 days. Sincerely, Brian Croft, CEO. I read it 3 times. Sarah came closer. Is that what I think it is? He wants to buy us. For how much? $47 million. She whistled low. That's real money. It was more money than I'd ever imagined. Enough to retire, travel, never worry about payroll or budgets or where the next project came from. All I had to do was give Brian everything I'd built. I called an emergency board meeting for that afternoon. Phoenix had a board now: Sarah, Marcus, our engineer, Kevin as outside advisor to senior partners. Decisions this big required consensus. We sat around the conference table. Our Silver Lake office, windows overlooking the city, our city. I distributed copies of the offer, watched their faces. Kevin spoke first. $47 million is serious money. It's also a hostile acquisition dressed as a merger, Sarah said. Look at the terms. Consultant for 2 years. That means Isabella's out after 24 months. The rest of us won't last much longer. Marcus flipped through pages. He'd absorb our projects, rebrand under Croft Development, eliminate the competition. We'd cease to exist. But we'd be rich, Kevin said quietly. I'm not saying we should take it. I'm saying we need to be honest. This is life-changing money for everyone here. For Isabella especially. Everyone looked at me. I stared at the offer. At Brian's signature at the bottom. Confident. Decisive. Like he knew I'd accept, because who turns down $47 million? I need to think, I said. Let's reconvene tomorrow morning. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my living room with wine, the offer on my coffee table, doing math I'd never imagined doing. $47 million minus taxes. Minus the team's percentage. Still enough that I'd never work again. At 60, that meant freedom. Security. Anything I wanted, or nothing. I picked up my phone, called Monica. It's late, she answered. You okay? Brian offered to buy Phoenix. Silence. Then, how much? $47 million. I heard her inhale sharply. Holy shit, yeah, are you going to take it? I don't know, Bella. That's generational wealth. That's never worrying about money again. That's giving him everything I built. More silence. Then, softer. Is that what this is about? Pride, was it? I looked around my house, at the framed awards, the photos of completed projects, the sketches I still did by hand sometimes. It's about purpose, I said finally. If I sell, Phoenix becomes part of Croft Development. Our work gets absorbed. Our approach gets diluted or eliminated. Everything we've built disappears. Brian doesn't care about community focus or sustainability. He cares about eliminating competition. But you'd have $47 million. At 60. Monica, I'm tired. If I sell, I won't start over. I'll retire. Travel, fade into irrelevance. And maybe that's fine. Maybe that's enough. But I don't think it is. I heard her shift. Then you already know your answer, did I? The board meeting the next morning was tense. Everyone had opinions. Numbers on notepads, calculations, scenarios. Kevin presented the financial argument. This is more than fair market value. From a pure business standpoint, this is a win. From a legacy standpoint, it's a disaster, Sarah countered. Everything we've built disappears. The Phoenix name, gone. Our approach, gone. But we'd all be financially secure, one partner said. No more worrying about landing the next contract. No more purpose, either, Marcus added quietly. The room fell silent. What do you think, Isabella? Kevin asked. I looked at each of them. Young, talented people who'd believed in Phoenix, who'd taken risks to work here. I think, I said slowly, that Brian isn't offering this because he wants to merge. He's offering it because we're beating him. Because Phoenix represents everything his firm isn't: innovative, relevant, growing. He can't compete, so he wants to eliminate us. That's probably true, Kevin said. But does it matter? Money is money. It matters to me. I stood, walked to the window. 10 years ago, I had nothing. No career, no money, no purpose. I built Phoenix from that nothing. Not to get rich, not to compete with Brian, but to matter, to create things that improve lives. To prove I wasn't finished, I turned back. If I sell to Brian, I'm admitting he was right. That everything I built was just a phase, a hobby, something that could be bought and erased. And I won't do that. I won't let him take this from me. Not again. Sarah smiled. So we're saying no. We're saying no. Kevin leaned back. You're turning down $47 million. I'm turning down giving him the plus satisfaction. That's insane, probably. I sat back down, but it's also right. Phoenix isn't for sale, not to Brian, not to anyone. Marcus raised his coffee. I'm in. Sarah nodded. Obviously. The other partners exchanged glances, then agreed. Kevin was last. You know this means war, right? Brian won't take rejection. Well, let him. Okay. Kevin smiled. Then let's draft a response he'll never forget. The letter went out that afternoon. Patricia Chunstow, my attorney, helped me write it. Professional, clear, final. Mr. Croft, thank you for your offer to acquire Phoenix Designs. After careful consideration with our board, we must respectfully decline. Phoenix Designs is not for sale. Our mission is incompatible with absorption into a firm with different priorities. However, if circumstances change and Croft Development finds itself in need of strategic guidance, we would be open to discussing how Phoenix might assist. We have significant capital available and are interested in acquiring talented teams and valuable assets. Sincerely, Isabella Rossi, CEO. That last paragraph was Sarah's idea. The counteroffer that wasn't quite a counteroffer. The subtle implication that if anyone was acquiring anyone, it would be us buying him. Patricia read it and laughed. You're offering to buy his company. I'm offering to consider it. If he's interested. He won't be. I know. Brian's response came 3 hours later. Not through lawyers. Through my cell. A call from a number I'd deleted but still recognized. I let it ring 4 times, then answered. Isabella. His voice was tight, controlled, angry. We need to talk. I think the letter was clear. That insulting Bruffer. You're not serious. I'm completely serious. Croft Development is struggling. Phoenix is thriving. If you're looking to sell, we're buyers. You can't be. He stopped. Started again. This is business. Isabella, personal feelings aside, this is smart. You'd be set for life. I'm already set. I have a company I built, work that matters, a team that believes in what we do. I don't need your money, Brian. Silence on the line. I could almost hear him processing. You're making a mistake, he said finally. Phoenix is good, but you can't sustain this growth forever. One bad project, one lawsuit, you'll be finished. With my backing, you'd have security, or I'd have a boss. Again, been there, done that. Not interested in an encore. This isn't about us. This is business. Everything is about us. Brian, you're not trying to acquire Phoenix because it makes financial sense. You're trying to erase evidence that I succeeded without you. That I'm better off without you. That you were wrong. Long silence. Go to hell, Isabella. He hung up. I set down the phone. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from satisfaction. Sarah appeared in my doorway. How'd he take it? About as well as expected. She grinned. Good. Now what? Now we get back to work. But Brian wasn't done. 2 weeks later, his attorney requested a face-to-face meeting. Mr. Croft would like to discuss potential collaboration. Would Ms. Rossi be available? Patricia called. He wants to meet. In person. At your office. Why didn't say? But I'm guessing he wants to make a better offer. I thought about it. Part of me wanted to refuse. Close the door. Move on. But another part wanted to see him walk into my space. See what I'd created without him. Schedule it, I said. The meeting was set for Tuesday at 10 a.m. I arrived early. Made sure the office looked perfect. Awards on walls. Renderings of the downtown arts district. Photos of completed work everywhere. Sarah caught me straightening a frame. You nervous? No, I was. A little. Maybe. You're the CEO of a thriving firm. He's the head of a company that's bleeding out. You hold all the cards. She was right. Brian arrived at exactly 10 a.m. Alone. No attorney. No assistant. Just him in an expensive suit that hung looser than it should. He'd lost weight. The confidence had dimmed. I met him in the lobby. Shook his hand. Professional. Distant. Brian, thanks for coming. Isabella, nice office. I led him through the workspace. Past designers at standing desks. Architects reviewing blueprints. The space hummed with energy. His eyes took it all in. We reached my office. Corner space windows. View of the city. I gestured to a chair. He sat. I took my seat behind my desk. Coffee, I offered. No, thank you. Silence settled. Thank you for seeing me, he said finally. I know we didn't leave things well. You told me to go to hell. A slight wince. I was angry. You caught me off guard. It wasn't really a counteroffer. It was fact. That you're willing to buy my company. If you're selling. He shifted, uncomfortable. I'm not here to sell, Isabella. I'm here to revise my offer. 60 million. Full acquisition. But you stay on as co-CEO. Real authority. We merge under a new name. Phoenix Croft. Or Croft Phoenix. Whatever you prefer. I studied him. Watched him try to hold eye contact and fail. Why? I asked. Why what? Why are you doing this? You could let Phoenix exist. Let us compete. Let the market decide. Why do you need to absorb us? His jaw tightened. Because you're killing me. The honesty startled us both. Every client I lose comes to you, he continued, voice strained. Every talented architect leaves for Phoenix. Every article mentions your firm and forgets mine. I'm becoming irrelevant. Isabella, I'm trying to stop it before I disappear. By erasing me. By partnering with you. By combining what I built with what you're building. He paused. I spent 40 years creating Croft Development. I can't just let it die. It's not your legacy that's dying, Brian. It's your relevance. There's a difference. He flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? You built an empire on ego and profit, but you forgot that buildings have to matter. That legacy means contribution, not accumulation. And you think your way is better. I know it is. Because I'm still growing and you're still shrinking. Silence. Heavy. Brian stood. Came to the window. We both looked out at Los Angeles. I made a mistake, he said quietly. Leaving you. Underestimating you. I see that now. Took you long enough. I know. He turned. So here's my real offer. Not acquisition. Not merger. Just help me. Consult. Advise. My firm needs what yours has: vision, purpose. I can't figure it out alone. I've tried. This was it. The moment I'd fantasized about for 10 years. Brian Croft admitting he needed me. Admitting I was better. I should have felt triumphant. Instead, I felt sad. Brian, I said gently. I can't save your company. Nobody can. Why not? Because it's built on the wrong foundation. You built it to win. I built Phoenix to matter. Those are incompatible. You can't rebrand your way out. The problem isn't marketing, it's purpose. He stared at me. So what do? You let it go. I can't. You can. You sell, retire, do something else. Anything except clinging to something that's already gone. To who? Who would buy a failing firm? I walked back to my desk, pulled out the folder I'd prepared, slid it across. Phoenix would. I said. He opened it. His face went pale. 12 million. I said. For full acquisition. Your assets, your client list, your name if you want. We'd retain staff who fit our culture. Transition ongoing projects. Honor commitments. And we'd do it with respect. 12 million. I offered you 60. Your firm was worth 60 when you made that offer. It's not anymore. You've lost clients. Your best people left. 12 million is fair. Brian set down the folder. His hands shook. This is a fraction of what I built. It's what it's worth now. You're offering me pennies. I'm offering you an exit with dignity. A chance to walk away before bankruptcy. Before you fire everyone with nothing. I paused. I'm offering you what you didn't offer me, a future. He looked at me. Really looked. This wasn't revenge. It was worse. It was pity. I need to think, he said, standing abruptly. Take your time. Offer stands for 30 days. He walked to the door, stopped, turned. Do you hate me? He asked. I thought about it. Really thought. No, I said finally. I don't think about you enough to hate you. You're just someone I used to know. Someone who hurt me but ultimately freed me. He nodded slowly. That's worse, isn't it? Than hate. Probably. He left. I watched through my window as he walked through the workspace. Past the designers. Past the evidence of what I'd built. He looked small. Diminished. Sarah appeared. How'd it go? I offered to buy his company for 12 million. Her eyes widened. What did he say? He needs to think. He's going to refuse. That's humiliating. Maybe, but it's also smart. His firm is dying. This way he saves something. And if he refuses, then we wait 6 months and buy the assets out of bankruptcy for half that. Sarah grinned. You're scary when you're strategic. I learned from the best. I smiled. And then I became better. The response came 2 weeks later, not from Brian, from his attorney. Brief email. Mr. Croft declines your offer at this time. I wasn't surprised. Accepting would have required humility Brian didn't have. Would have required admitting the woman he'd thrown away had surpassed him completely. Some men would rather lose everything than accept help from someone they'd underestimated. I forwarded the email to Patricia. Added a note. Let me know when he's ready to talk again. He will be. Then I deleted it. Got back to work. Phoenix had a downtown district to build, communities to serve, a legacy to create that would outlast every ego, every grudge, every small person who'd ever said I was finished. I wasn't finished. I was just getting started. And Brian? He was just finished. 3 years later, I stood on the rooftop terrace of the Downtown Arts District Cultural Center. 63 years old. Gray hair I'd stopped dyeing 2 years ago. Lines around my eyes I'd earned. A body that reminded me daily I wasn't young but was still strong, still here. The building below Mioer Building, Phoenix's crown jewel, had been open for 6 months. 40,000 square feet of community space. Art galleries. Performance venues. Affordable artist studios. A rooftop garden where I stood now, looking out at Los Angeles in the golden hour before sunset. The city stretched endlessly. Buildings I'd designed dotted the landscape. The Culver City warehouse, still thriving 15 years after completion. The Boyle Heights Cultural Center hosting a concert I could hear from here. Affordable housing projects in Echo Park, Silver Lake, downtown. 92 completed projects had become 108. We'd built a city within a city. And it mattered. Sarah joined me at the railing. She was a partner now, 41 years old, brilliant, running half the firm while I focused on design and vision. Beautiful, isn't it? She said. It is. You leaving soon? I was San Francisco for the weekend. Marcus, my son had reached out 6 months ago. A tentative email. An apology for the silence. An invitation to meet his daughter. My granddaughter, 2 years old, named Isabella. We'd had coffee, then dinner, then regular calls. The wounds weren't healed, but they were healing. Some bridges took time to rebuild. Early flight tomorrow, I said. You'll handle the client meeting Monday. Already prepped. She paused. You okay? You seem distant. Just thinking about. I gestured at the city. About how we got here, I'd seen Brian once more after he refused my offer. 2 years ago. Coffee shop in Santa Monica. Pure chance. I almost didn't recognize him. He looked old, truly old now, at 80, thin, fragile. Like the architecture of his body was finally giving way. He was alone, reading a newspaper, drinking black coffee. I could have walked past, should have, but something made me stop. Brian, he looked up. Surprise flickered across his face. Then something softer. Resignation, maybe. Isabella. Hi, mind if I sit? Please. I sat. Ordered tea. We didn't speak for a moment. How are you? I asked finally. Tired. He smiled slightly. Truthfully. Tired. The firm sold it. About a year ago. Not to you, I'm sure you heard. To a national chain. They kept the name for 6 months. Then rebranded everything. Croft Development doesn't exist anymore. He said it matter-of-factly. Like discussing the weather. They let everyone go within a year. Restructuring, they called it. I'm sorry. Don't be. You were right. I should have sold to you. At least you would have saved the good people. Kept the legacy alive in some form. He looked at his coffee. I was too proud, too stupid. And now it's just gone. Like it never existed. We sat in silence. The coffee shop bustled around us. Young people on laptops. Parents with strollers. Life happening everywhere. Amber, I asked. Married the tech guy. Living in Marin County. I get a Christmas card sometimes. Very polite. Very distant. He smiled bitterly. History really does repeat. And you, me. I have an apartment in Venice Beach. Small, quiet. I read, walk on the beach. Try to figure out what you do when the thing that defined you doesn't exist anymore. He looked at me then. Really looked. You were right about everything. He said, the purpose thing. The legacy. I built an empire on ego and profit, and it collapsed the second those stopped being enough. You built yours on meaning, and it's outlasting everything. He paused. I spent 40 years winning, and you spent 15 years mattering. And you know what? Mattering lasts longer. I didn't know what to say. I'm happy for you, he continued. I mean that. Phoenix, your success, all of it. You deserved it. You always deserved it. I just couldn't see it. Thank you. We finished our drinks, exchanged pleasantries. He paid for my tea before I could object, said goodbye. I watched him walk away slow, careful, like someone navigating unfamiliar territory. He'd been a king once. Now he was just an old man trying to figure out what came after kingdoms. I felt no triumph, no vindication. Just melancholy recognition that some people spend their whole lives building monuments to themselves, and then wonder why they're alone when those monuments crumble. You still with me? Sarah's voice pulled me back to the present, to the rooftop, to the sunset. Yeah. Sorry, just remembering. Brian, I nodded. You ever regret not taking his offer? The 60 million? No, I meant it. That money would have been an ending. This, I gestured at the building, the city, everything we'd created. This is a beginning that doesn't stop. Sarah smiled. Poetic. True, though. We stood in comfortable silence, watching the city transition from day to night, lights beginning to glow. The downtown skyline emerging in sharp relief against the darkening sky. Can I ask you something? Sarah said. Always. Was it worth it? The divorce, starting over at 50. All the struggle. Was it worth it to end up here? I thought about it. Really thought. 25 years as Mrs. Brian Croft, the perfect wife, the invisible architect of someone else's success, the woman who'd buried her dreams so deep she'd forgotten they existed. Then the divorce, the studio apartment, the desperate applications, the rejection, the moment in that conference room when I'd said I want everything and meant it. 15 years of building Phoenix, the 80-hour weeks, the impossible projects, the risks, the fear, the slow, painful process of becoming someone who mattered on her own terms. Yes, I said. It was worth every second, even the pain, especially the pain. The pain meant I was still alive, still fighting, still becoming. Sarah nodded. Good, Because you're my hero. I need you to stay heroic. I laughed. No pressure, none at all. That night, alone in my house, my beautiful house in Silver Lake, with the yard and the light and the studio where I still sketched by hand, I pulled out an old box from the closet. My architecture portfolio from USC, the one I'd found that desperate night in my studio apartment 15 years ago. The one that had reminded me who I used to be. I opened it, looked at the projects. The community center shaped like open hands. The sustainable housing. The industrial park conversion that had become my thesis. Young Isabella's dreams, preserved in blueprints and sketches. I'd built all of them now. Maybe not exactly as drawn, but the spirit was there. The vision. The belief that architecture could do more than shelter, it could heal, connect, transform. That young woman with her wild ideas had won. Not against Brian. Against the voice that said she was finished. Against the world that said 50 was too late. Against every limitation someone else had tried to impose. I closed the portfolio. Put it back in the closet. Didn't need it anymore. The dreams weren't in there. They were out there, standing in the city, housing families, creating community, changing lives. The next morning, I flew to San Francisco. Marcus picked me up at the airport, hugged me tight, took me to his house in Noah Valley. His wife Jennifer greeted me at the door, and there she was. Isabella, little Bella. 2 years old with dark curls in my eyes. She looked at me with that serious expression toddlers get when meeting someone new. Deciding. Evaluating. Bella, Marcus said gently. This is Grandma. She studied me for another moment, then smiled. Reached her arms up. I picked her up. Felt her weight. Her realness. This tiny person who carried my name into the future. Hi Bella, I whispered. She touched my face. Gamma. And just like that, my heart broke and rebuilt itself simultaneously. We spent the weekend together. The 4 of us and little Bella. Park visits, meals, stories. Marcus told me about his company, his life, the years we'd missed. We didn't dwell on the silence, just acknowledged it existed, and chose to move forward. Sunday evening, before I left for the airport, Marcus walked me to the car. Mom, he said. I'm sorry, for taking his side, for the wedding, for all of it. I was young and stupid, and didn't understand what you were going through. You were his son. You loved him, that's not wrong, but I abandoned you when you needed me most. I touched his face. My son, my complicated, imperfect son, who'd hurt me and was trying to make it right. You're here now, I said. That's what matters. He hugged me. Tight, like he was afraid I'd disappear. I'm proud of you, he said. Phoenix. Everything you built. You're incredible. Thank you, Dad. He stopped. I saw him last month. He's not doing well. Drinking too much. Alone. He asked about you. What did you tell him? That you were happy. Successful. Living your best life. He paused. He cried. I felt nothing but distant sadness. He made his choices. I know, but I thought you should know. In case he didn't finish. In case what? In case I want to save him. I smiled gently. I spent 25 years saving him. Marcus, he needs to save himself now. He nodded, understanding. Flying home, I thought about Brian. About the coffee shop conversation. About him alone in Venice Beach, trying to figure out what came after everything. Part of me, a small part, wanted to reach out, offer something. Help, maybe, or at least companionship, in the shared knowledge that we'd once meant everything to each other. But I didn't, not out of cruelty, not out of revenge, just out of recognition that his journey wasn't mine to walk anymore, that some people need to face their endings alone to understand what they lost. My phone buzzed. Text from Sarah. City Council approved the East Side Housing Project. We're a go. Another project. Another neighborhood transformed. Another group of families getting homes with dignity and beauty, instead of just shelter. I looked out the airplane window. At the clouds. At the endless sky. At the world spreading out below. I'd spent 50 years becoming someone's wife, someone's mother, someone's support system. Then I'd spent 15 years becoming myself. And myself. She was an architect. A CEO. A woman who built things that lasted. A grandmother. A mentor. Someone who mattered not because of who she was connected to, but because of what she created. Brian had asked me once that night at the convention if I hated him. I'd said no. The truth was more complicated. I didn't hate him. I didn't love him. I didn't need him to fail for me to succeed, or succeed for me to feel vindicated. He was just a chapter in a much longer story. An important chapter, sure. The one where I lost everything. But not the best chapter. The best chapters were the ones I was writing now. With Phoenix. With my team. With my granddaughter who carried my name. With myself. The plane began its descent into Los Angeles. My city, the one Phoenix had helped reshape. The one that held 108 buildings with our signature. Our vision. Our belief that architecture could do more than exist, it could matter. I'd started over at 50 with nothing. At 63, I had everything that counted. Not money, not revenge, not victory over a man who'd underestimated me. Just purpose, legacy, meaning, and that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.